If you're lucky, every once in a while, you'll hear a piece of music that captures a moment and a feeling better than any picture ever could. A song that almost seems to take you to another place and time. This month marks the 50th anniversary of one of the most transformative songs I've ever laid ears on.
Two people just meeting.
Inside My Love was the lead single from Minnie Riperton's Adventures in Paradise album, released in May of 1975. On the surface, an amazing R&B song with an incredible double entendre lyric that cracked the R&B top 30. But underneath, a masterpiece that includes brilliant musical performances and, pound for pound, the greatest 8-bar interlude you will hear on a record ever. We'll get to that. The song was composed by songwriter Leon Ware, Minnie Riperton, and her co-producer, guitarist, and husband, Richard Rudolph, who was kind enough to sit down with me and tell me how it all happened.
That's one of the defining moments of my life. I remember this so clearly. We were up in a little house up in Laurel Canyon, and it was in the wee small hours, which Leon and I used to creep through all the time. And Leon and I were in this little rec room or guest room of the house, a garage that had been transformed, and we were in there writing and like vibing. Leon was one of the most beautiful, spectacular people in the world, and I'm so blessed, like with so many others, that I came into his sphere. He was one of my dear, dear friends, and we wrote all kinds of stuff together and just had such a beautiful time. And this man was music. He was beautiful, and he was completely unique in his own right. And we were sitting there, we were going through all this stuff, and then all of a sudden we got into this groove. And it started, and it just happens, like this. Two people just, like this thing just started happening. So we got to get Minnie. She was sleeping in the other room. I'm talking about it was the wee small. And so we pulled her in there, and we were all just cracking up with the song. We didn't know it was going to get us, thrown off the radio and stuff. We thought it was so spiritual and so beautiful. It's all how you look at stuff. We didn't know that people were going to put other stuff on it, sort of. We kind of knew, but it's so nice to walk that line.
On the surface, a sensuous minor R&B groove. Minnie sings the words, "Come Inside Me," 18 times. She used to introduce it live as the song that got her banned. But according to Leon Ware, there was a much deeper meaning to that lyric. When Minnie said she wanted to sing something that had a very sensuous yet classy message, I told her about my idea. This idea came from me going to church. Whenever a sermon was almost over, there would be this point where the organ would play real soft. You could hear a pin drop, and the vibe would be completely hypnotic. The pastor would say, "Won't you come inside the Lord?" And people would stand up, eyes closed and arms outstretched, as if they were being guided to the pulpit.
I always think about stuff like that, how it's such a fine line. There was an author, a writer named Theodore Rutke, who wrote a thing called Words for the Wind, which I read when I was in school, and he said, "I live on the edge. I have come to stay." And that resonated with me too. So I loved that. I thought we're right on that razor's edge.
Yeah, it's sexual and spiritual. And that groove over the verses sets up a 4-chord circle that happens underneath the chorus.
You can see inside me. Will you come inside?
One of the things that draws our ears to this song is the use of extended harmony. The frequent use of sevenths and ninths just lifts the chords up off the record. That's jazz, y'all. And this great song includes a great cast, including producer Stuart Levine, Larry Carlton, Jim Gordon, Dean Parks, Tom Scott, Joe Sample, and a Wildcard on bass, Ed Brown.
Ed was one wild card. You know, like every album, as you know, is different. And so in this particular case, it was because of Stuart's involvement, and Stuart with the Crusaders, and his suggestion, let's let Larry will arrange this, and we'll have Larry and Joe, and we cast Jim to be the drummer. But we met Ed separately. He wasn't a studio musician out here. Actually, I think he got in touch with us. One of Minnie's brothers from Chicago had told him to get in touch with us and said, "This guy's great." And we started met him and heard him play and started working with him, and actually wrote a song with him and stuff, and told Stuart about him. And Stuart put the seal of approval on him, and you see what happened.
On the surface, simple, grooving, but listen how the chorus changes to major and the bass line just comes to life. He's using a busier bass line and a higher range to lift the whole song. And really, the whole group was behind the beauty of this record.
What's so interesting about this album is it's a cohesive whole. And I think that's one of the reasons for it. This group was put together and recorded this album. It wasn't like we brought in disparate parts for different songs and different stuff. So as we both know, the times have changed.
And if we stop here, it's a great R&B song, but when it hits that middle eight, it becomes transcendent. All that gorgeous extended harmony is really featuring the suspended chord. It's a great example of how sus chords can give the music an ethereal, almost weightless feeling. In between a major and a minor sound, a suspended chord can sound like the best of both. The whole section, which features the great Joe Sample on electric piano, is just mesmerizing. And by the way, that note that Minnie holds, that was all her, with no edits.
You wanna ride?
And I remember, I'm trying to think if it was Stuart or Joe or Larry who said to Minnie, "Are you going to be able to hold this note the whole time?" And I wish you could have seen the look on her face. It was like, give me a break. And so when she did it, Minnie was so funny because she could do this stuff. And she would sometimes try to make it look hard for people, but it was, that was like, she was so spectacular and special.
Minnie Riperton was amazing, and this track was a tour de force for her. Pay attention, not just to her singing, but to the way she brilliantly layered multiple vocal parts, especially at the end.
You come inside me. You can come inside me.
And there's so many Easter eggs happening at the end of this track, including the string parts, the horn parts, and that hard pan guitar counter melody. The band just goes off as the song fades out, especially Ed Brown. It's just brilliant. And the song is so brilliant that Leon Ware tried to record a disco version of it in 1979.
Two people just meeting.
50 years later, and this song continues to live on in hip-hop music, being sampled over 100 times by artists like Busta Rhymes, J. Cole, and A Tribe Called Quest.
Going on and on to the rhythmic variation. Waking in the morning, I still represent the nation.
Now, that's a legacy.
Is there a more effusive way to say I effing love it? No. I mean, come on. You know, when it connects like that and people take it to the next place, those guys, they're my heroes too. And he, you know, that's just amazing. Because that's, you know, now that takes the legacy to another place and just exposed it to so many more people, and just, it's just so beautiful. That's what it's supposed to be, right? Just pass it on, keep passing it on. And if we can keep passing it on, I think we're going to be okay.
5 decades and counting. And this song, a love song made with love, is still taking us places. I want to send a huge thank you to the great Richard Rudolph for taking some time to sit down and talk with me. His career is legendary, and we're going to sit down and have some more conversations about it. So stay tuned. In the meantime, go and put on this amazing music and let it lift you up.